All right, let's talk about power. I mean, real power. Robert Greene's The 48 Laws of Power is, well, it's one of those books. You know the kind, super controversial. Some people see it as this cynical, almost evil manual for manipulators. Others, they swear it's an essential defense kit for, navigating the real world. So, which is it? Today, we're going to break down some of its core strategies and see if we can figure that out.
So, this quote from Machiavelli, wow, it really sets the stage, doesn't it? It gets right to the heart of the book's whole philosophy. I mean, what's he really saying here? Basically, half measures are a terrible idea. They just create enemies who will stick around and wait for their chance to get revenge. So you have two choices. Either win someone over completely or, well, remove them from the game entirely. No middle ground. This is the kind of unflinching, tough love world we're about to dive into.
Okay, so Section 1, the foundation of power. It's all about mastering yourself. Now, you might think the path to power starts with controlling other people, right? But according to Greene, that's not it at all. Nope. It starts with absolute mastery over the one person you can control, yourself. We're talking about your emotions, your reputation. That's the real foundation. And right out of the gate, we get law sex, court attention at all cost. This one is pretty provocative, huh? The logic here is kind of brutal, but simple. To be ignored is to be completely irrelevant. Think about it. Slander, attacks, yeah, they're unpleasant for sure, but at least they confirm you exist. They mean you're important enough to attack. In the world of power, attention is literally currency. So being noticed, for any reason, is the first crucial step to being powerful. And a perfect example of this is the legendary showman P.T. Barnum. So picture this. He's starting out, nobody knows who he is, a crowd mistakes him for some controversial figure, and what does he do? He doesn't correct them. Oh no, he leans right into it. Why? Because he understood a crucial secret. Infamy creates curiosity, and that curiosity, it sold tickets, it packed his circus tents. He literally turned negative attention directly into power and, of course, profit.
All right, next up is Law 36, disdain things you cannot have. And this one demands some serious psychological discipline. Think of it like this. You know when a fly is buzzing around your head? If you swat at it, you're basically acknowledging it's a nuisance. You're giving it power. Greene argues that paying attention to a petty enemy or a small problem is exactly the same thing. You're feeding them your energy, which only makes them seem bigger and more important than they really are.
And the book just lays it out so clearly, you can see it right here. It's a choice. On one side, you've got the weak response. You engage, you pay attention to your enemy, you own up to the small mistake. But then look at the other side, the powerful response. It's all about contempt, ignorance. By just refusing to even acknowledge the problem, you're sending a powerful signal. This is too insignificant for my time. It's a total power move. The less interest you show, the more superior you're going to look.
Okay, moving on to Section 2. So, you've mastered your own emotions. What's next? Well, now you have to navigate the court, which is just a fancy way of saying the complex world of other people, especially those higher up on the ladder. This is where the social game really begins. And this brings us to probably one of the most famous and, let's be honest, most counterintuitive laws in the entire book. Never outshine the master. I mean, think about it. Your first instinct is to impress your boss, right? To show off how talented you are. But Greene warns that this is a huge, fatal mistake. Your brilliance doesn't make your superior love you, it makes them afraid. It makes them insecure. And the court of King Louis XIV? That was like the ultimate testing ground for this very law. The playbook is right there. A master, a boss, anyone in a high position wants to feel superior. Simple as that. They might act like they appreciate your gifts, but at the very first opportunity, they will replace you with someone who feels a little less threatening. So the key to survival and even advancement is to make them look more brilliant. Your own light should just be a reflection of theirs. Now, a totally natural reaction to hearing all this, to this dangerous social world, is to just withdraw, right? To go build a fortress and hide. But Greene says no, that's another fatal mistake. Isolation doesn't actually protect you. It does the opposite. It makes you vulnerable. You cut yourself off from crucial info, you lose touch with your allies, and you basically become this easy, predictable target sitting all alone. And we have two perfect historical case studies to look at here. On one side, you've got Emperor Qin Shi Huang. He's the guy who built a fortress to hide away. And what was the result? total paranoia, fear, and, surprise, surprise, his empire crumbled. But then you have Louis XIV on the other side. He did the exact opposite. He built Versailles to force his nobles to be with him, to keep them close and completely dependent. He was always circulating, always present. And his power? It became absolute.
All right, section 3. So we've covered the defensive game, right? Mastering yourself, navigating the court. Now things get interesting. We're shifting to offense. These are the proactive strategies, the ones about seizing the initiative. And yeah, this is where things like deception and psychological warfare come into play.
So Law 17, keep others in suspended terror by being unpredictable. The core idea here is actually really simple. We humans, we love patterns. We feel safe, we feel in control when we think we know what someone's going to do next. So when you are deliberately unpredictable, you just shatter that sense of control. You put them on the defensive, and now they're constantly just reacting to whatever you do next.
It's all about playing against their expectations to show them who's in control. And you know who is a master of this? Pablo Picasso. I mean, just when the world thought, okay, we get his style now, boom, he would completely reinvent himself. This constant, deliberate unpredictability kept everyone totally off balance, but also fascinated. No one could pin him down, and that meant he was the one in control of his art, of his image, of everything.
Next up, Law 37, create compelling spectacles. What Greene's getting at here is the idea of bypassing people's critical thinking. Words. Words can be debated, they can be analyzed, they can be picked apart, but a huge, powerful spectacle, a grand, symbolic gesture, that hits you on a purely emotional level. It just overwhelms your senses, creates this feeling of awe, and completely distracts you from what might really be going on behind the curtain.
And the strategy is actually pretty simple. You just have to control the stage. While everyone is completely mesmerized by the dazzling show you're putting on, all the symbols, the amazing visuals, your real work, your true intentions, that's all happening backstage, completely out of sight. The spectacle isn't the point. It's the diversion. And that brings us to our final section, neutralizing your enemies. The end game. This is where we get into the laws that deal with direct opposition. And I'll warn you, these are often the most ruthless, the most decisive strategies in the entire book. So, Law 42, strike the shepherd and the sheep will scatter. Now, when you're facing a troublesome group, Greene warns you not to waste your energy attacking the whole flock. That's a mistake. Instead, your job is to identify the shepherd, that one instigator, the single source of dissent who's poisoning the well. See, the problem is almost never the whole group. It's the leader. So once you've identified this shepherd, this strategy is surgical. You don't waste time trying to win over everyone. You don't negotiate with the troublemaker. You isolate them or you remove them. Simple. Once that one influential voice is gone, silenced, the followers, the so-called sheep, they'll lose their nerve and just scatter. And now for Law 15, crush your enemy totally. This is probably the most brutal, the most Machiavellian law in the whole book. It flat out argues that showing mercy is a mistake. Why? Because an enemy that's only wounded, not destroyed, is just going to spend all their time recovering and, you guessed it, plotting revenge. The logic here is just cold, clear, and totally absolute. If you have to strike an enemy, you cannot hold back. You can't do it halfway. The blow has to be so crushing that there is zero possibility of recovery, absolutely no chance for them to retaliate. Think about it. Vengeance is only a threat if you're the one who leaves your enemy with the means to get it. And all of this brings us right back to that fundamental question we started with. Is this book just a cynical manual for manipulators? Or is it a pragmatic, if a little harsh, reflection of the world as it actually is? I think Greene's ultimate point is that power is a game, and it's a game that is always being played, whether you like it or not. So the only real choice you have is, do you want to be a player or do you want to be a pawn? Just being aware of the rules, well, that's the very first step.